welcome to tonight's show of Let's Talk About Ice. We are live from the Gold Coast, and man, have I got a show for you today. We're going to do something a little bit different today, but before I introduce our guests, wanted to have a chat with you about Gold Coast Cruising. That's the next sale is on the 5th of April. So that's our charity fundraising cruise bi-monthly, and you are welcome to join us. So if you'd like to come on the cruise, on a sunset cruise with us, call Mel. The number to call is 0408 878 806 and organise to get your ticket to come along with us on the Sunset Cruise with Gold Coast Cruising. So thanks Gold Coast Cruising for supporting Australian Anti-Ice campaign and helping us put the freeze on ice in our community and continue the good work that we do. The other thing I wanted to remind you all at home about was the Rotary Ramble on the 22nd of March. Now, honestly, guys, we've only got a few weeks to go, and we haven't got as many groups as we wanted to register. So if you're thinking of coming and having some fun, it's like a treasure hunt on the Gold Coast. We're going to start at McIntosh Island. You can register up to 6 people in your group. Come and compete against us. Come and have some fun. It's a Sunday. It's going to be a great afternoon or morning to afternoon. We're going to have music at the end. One of our presenters, Esther, will be singing. I will be singing. We're going to have a great time together. But more importantly, there's a lot of prizes to be won along the way. You can bring the family, make it a family fun day. Or if you have your workplace wants to contribute, and bring your work colleagues together and come and have some fun and pick a charity. There are about 9 charities to choose from, but we're going to tell you to choose the Australian Anti-Ice campaign, please, and help us continue the good work that we do. So need you to register ASAP. I'll ask Leanne to put the link onto the page right now underneath this show. And you can click on the Rambles and come and join us. And you get to dress up. You don't have to, but you get to dress up. And if you want to, get an anti-ice t-shirt or a cap, we're going to be theming blue, so our electric blue colour. So if you want to come and join us and pick Australian Anti-Ice campaign as your charity of choice, come and have a good time. Come and join us. So register today. Register this week now, not tomorrow, today. So just do it, and then work out who your team members are going to be later. All right. So just really urging you to come and support good causes in your community, because without these community groups doing what they do, there wouldn't be much change in the community. So we just need your support, and this is a way that you can do it by having some fun and uniting your family. So tonight's show, guys, is called Endurance Through Addiction. If you didn't watch last week's show, can I encourage you to do that? It was broken up into 2 parts. We had the first part had a few camera or technical difficulties, and it's not Brad's fault. Thank God he's back this week. So thank you to Brad and Extreme for doing this amazing camera work with us. He takes every Thursday. He comes out of his time, drives down, sets up, puts internet on, gets the whole program running for us. And so we're just really, really grateful to Brad and Extreme for doing this production and being able to get the message out there. So yeah, if you haven't watched last week's show, please do. Just overcome the technical side of things, but listen to the message, okay? Because we had Chris on the show. And Chris is here tonight again. Welcome again, Chris, to the show.
Hi guys, how you going?
Thank you so much for sharing last week, because it really touched some lives, and a lot of people got a lot out of your story. There was stuff that we didn't really cover up in front of the camera that we spoke about later, because the title of the last week's show was The Stars Were Drones.
That's correct.
And we didn't really get a chance, because there was so much in your story, we didn't really get a chance to touch that topic. Tell me, what was that about?
Stars with Drones were basically the psychosis part of it, the paranoia, thinking that I was being followed, the stars with drones following me. Everywhere I looked, there's stars in the sky.
Yep.
And they're all in different places, and they were cameras watching.
Wow.
And yeah,
Was that during the day or just at night? Or
At night, yeah.
Just at night, in the
Just at
night?
night,
Yeah, you
yeah.
didn't see them during the day, they were hiding.
Oh, I thought cars were police, detectives. I thought the guy walking down the street with his shopping bag was a detective.
Wow.
The car behind me that turned the same corner as me was following me.
Yep.
The whole lot.
It sounds really scary, Chris.
Mm.
You know, that would have been a really scary place to
Yeah.
live. And I'm presuming you were hiding.
Definitely, yeah.
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 And, you know, I don't know that people that haven't been there, and I do because I've been there, they quite understand how real it is for you. Can you paint a bit of a scenario or a picture of a time that you can go back to and explain how that was for you?
Just it was just every day, every moment.
Were you scared to go out?
Yeah, I was scared to answer my phone.
Wow.
If private number rang, oh God,
Yeah.
the SIM card's got to be snapped, or if I was changing numbers every week
Wow.
because I thought my phone was tapped.
Yep.
Everyone. I thought doctors were after me. I thought everyone was after me.
Yeah.
Friends.
You used to think cars up the street, parked like miles away, were detectives or someone. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just
Had
feel
cameras
like, no.
watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was home, I didn't want to walk outside the house.
Yeah.
I would sit when the very little time that I was home, and I would try to sleep or anything. I couldn't because I would see shadows out in the property. I would see the wind blow a tree, and I thought someone was hiding behind it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that someone was coming after you, obviously.
Yeah.
And that is just such a really scary feeling. As some of you already know my story, I blocked out all my windows and I was scared to go out. So it's very real for the person that's in that psychosis. You know, some people go into psychosis and they don't ever come out. That is a reality as well. So, you know, to have your mind back is a real blessing, and I really treasure that. I just want to introduce our third guest on the show because we haven't said hello to Kim yet. Kim,
Hi,
welcome to the show. Thank you for agreeing to be here. And I know, to you guys at home, this might, it's the first time kind of we've sat we've sat with the two twin brothers, but with a family. It's husband and wife, and they've gone through this journey together. Chris was using, Kim wasn't, and she was watching all of this. And I really would like to bring a light on both people, because what Chris was seeing, and the people following him in the cars parked at the end. Kim had to experience him going through that psychosis and not being able to help. And I know that a lot of people at home that are watching, maybe family members or people that have loved ones that are entrapped in that addiction. And I think it's important to see both sides and to see how they work through that, because we're grateful and blessed to have Chris on the couch today and awake and alert and clean and being part of a family. And so that's a real blessing. And I know that there'll be a lot of people at home asking questions, going, how did you do that? How did you cope through that? How did you support him? How did you cope through it? Because it's quite traumatic. We hear a lot of families on the phone, and partners in desperation.
Yeah.
So, the purpose of this, guys, is to raise awareness, educate, but also to give you some tools and some ideas on how the dynamic worked and how Kim coped through that and what worked and what didn't work. So, Kim, when Chris was thinking there was, drones in the sky with cameras and cars up the road and breaking his SIM card, what were you thinking?
it went on for quite a long time. So it was kind of happening a lot. So I couldn't really talk sense into him. I had to kind of go along with it. Otherwise, he'd be like, "You don't know anything. You know, I know what I'm talking about, and this is all real." And no one could really like talk sense into him.
Because he really believed it, right? So
Yeah,
for him
yeah.
it was very real, but
Yeah.
you saw that it wasn't. So did you think at any time that maybe he'd lost his mind?
I was starting to, but like I knew that it was the drug at the end of the day, not him.
Yeah.
And there was times when he would come down off it for short periods of time and slowly start going back to his normal self.
Yeah.
And then you would see, and he would stop doing it, and then he'd get back on it again, and then it would all start again. And no one can talk sense into. It's really hard. Like
Yeah.
if I try, like I said, if I tried to say, "Hey Chris, like come on, like really, it's not the person down the street is not a cop, and that's not a cop," and then he'd just be like, "You know what you're talking about."
Would he get angry?
Yes, very
Yeah,
angry.
How did you cope with that, Kim?
It can be really hard. It could be really hard at times, but I get, because I'd been with him for so long before it all happened. I kind of knew a little bit how to deal with his anger, but it did get very, very crazy at times. And I guess I learnt not to argue back with him and just kind of take a step back and just let him win the argument, because you can't really think about winning the arguments and things like that when someone's on that drug.
Yep.
It's just like, okay, you're right,
Yep.
I'll just wait until he changes the subject or something like that, and then that's kind of what it was like a lot, because
Yeah.
every time I tried to say, "No, you're wrong, you don't know, you're not seeing clearly," he just can't see it from like the topic or whatever the topic is. He just wouldn't be able to see it from a clear perspective, like a normal person perspective sort of thing.
Yeah, and you got wind of that, but I have so many questions. I just want to ask them all at once because,
Okay.
and I'm sure that people at home do as well. So if you have questions, guys, please start popping them up on the screen, and we will pass them on to the couple. Did you know what was going on in terms of what was going on in his mind? Did you know about the drug? The effects of the drug on the brain and how to deal with it before, like,
Kind
when it
of,
started?
or sort of, because I unfortunately tried it because we've been together for such a long time. Like, I met him when he was just about to turn 16 and I was about to turn 18. And before we had kids, and we went on a little bit of a bender ourselves.
Yep.
And that's when he introduced it to me. And I absolutely hated it. Like, it made me really sick, and I didn't drink water for like 3 days and nearly died, and I was like, I'm never having this again.
Yeah,
So I kind of knew what it did to you.
yeah,
And so but I mean, then it was years and years and years. Like, I didn't touch it for years, and he sort of was on and off it a lot. So I was able to understand a little bit of what he's going through, but it's hard. I forget what you were asking me, but
yeah. No, if you knew
yeah.
the effects of ice on the brain, on the actual
Oh,
chemical
right, yeah.
component of the brain.
Yeah, kind of. I did research a lot of it, like the feelings that it was giving him and things like that, and why he was after it, because he was a bit depressed because he lost his job and he couldn't support us and things like that.
Yeah.
So I knew that the drug was making him feel happy.
Yeah.
And things like that. Yeah.
I want to go back. You said to the beginning.
Yeah.
And you guys had a relationship before drugs. Is that right?
Yes, we did.
Or is that how you met?
No, we met. We were so young.
Yeah.
But we did sort of like have drugs were sort of in our lives, in and out of our lives a little bit when we first met, and then it got really bad for Chris, and I sort of backed off and said I don't want to do this anymore at one point, and he kind of kept going, and I think that's what led him to his first incarceration. And I ended up because we moved out of home quite quickly when we first got together.
Yeah.
And then we got a little bit silly on the drugs and all that stuff, and I ended up back at my parents' house, and he ended up in jail, and I decided to support him through the jail, and then he got out, and I think we got another place, didn't we?
So at that
And,
point there, were you thinking that he'll come out of jail and you
Yeah,
get your partner back and you just go on and live a happy life, right?
We he used to ring me up and say, "It's all over, Kim. I'm actually glad I got caught, and we're gonna have a new life and all that." And the first time he went into jail, it's hard because it's like in jail, out of jail. I'm trying to remember which is what.
Yes.
But he, I was actually pregnant when he first went in, but I lost the baby. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I lost the baby when he was in jail, and
Yeah.
he was hot. He didn't go well with that. And then when he got out,
To
he
rehab.
he had to go to rehab. That's right.
Yeah.
And like that was a really long process. But
And how long did you spend in rehab at that point?
Well, I made all these promises to Kim the first time I got incarcerated, and in my head I wanted to do the right thing and get clean.
Yep.
And the day I got released to rehab, I ran that night.
Yep.
And was instantly had warrants out for my arrest, and came back with 30 more charges 6 months later.
I've got to ask something right there, right? You believed him that he was going to change his life.
I
And
did.
You believed it, that you were going to change.
Yeah.
Chris, please tell me, because, and I know that people at home have got similar situations, it happens all the time. What was it that shifted that for you all of a sudden?
It's
Was it fear? Were you afraid? Like,
always afraid of reality.
Yeah.
Always, I never had much direction. So, I was, I left school in year 8, so I didn't have much schooling. So yeah, I was scared of the world. I was scared of where, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know who I was.
but at that point, right there, right? So you're at a crossroad. You've come out, you've been clean, you've got a beautiful lady here going, I want to be with you, I've supported you, let's do life, forever and ever, yeah? And then you go, yep, okay, I want to do that, and then something happened in your head, okay? So I want to know what happened for you to go, nah, not doing that, and choosing something else like that dramatically. I want to know what happened, what was going on for you.
In my head, I wanted to be clean.
Yes.
I wanted to live a normal life. I think I was kidding myself at the time. I realise now. In jail, I was around drugs and old people. I was just getting letters from friends in the jail. So I was still living that life in my head.
Yes.
And
So that's who you saw yourself to be.
I said
You
to my,
couldn't see yourself in a new life.
I've
yet.
always said to myself from the age of 12 that I'll always be a drug addict. I thought that there wouldn't be a day go past I wouldn't smoke marijuana.
Yep.
And I would die smoking marijuana or a drug addict. And I was young. I'd only just turned 18, and the drug court system had come up, and I thought in my head, I'm going to use this as a get out of jail free card.
Yep. So even though you kind of wanted that life,
Yeah.
and you told Kim that you wanted that life, and
Yeah.
she believed,
Yeah.
because that's what she saw in
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
to have a family life
Yeah.
together. You didn't actually see yourself there. Did you think you were worthy enough?
No, not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
That's what I'm getting to, guys. Here we're probing, because we're talking about underlying stuff.
Yeah.
Because I hear it again and again. People, I'm going to be clean. I'm going to change my life, and then something happens and they don't. And it's, man, I believed them. We had 6 months clean time. What happened? What happened? The renewing of the mind has to take place. You have to see yourself in a different space. Paint the vision, and your goal and the stepping stones to get there. You have to believe in yourself that that is you, and that's what you want, and that you're worthy of having that. You can't determine what you want by what has happened in the past. You have to let go, and that takes time and it takes work, yeah. And that's why we encourage people to do rehab, or go and see a counsellor. Whether it's live-in or external, work on that underlying issue, because we all have it, And by breaking it up and breaking the lies that you create, or has been created through the journey of your life, by breaking that up and saying, well, that's rubbish, I don't want that anymore, I want that, and what do I need to do to be that? Yeah, because we can be and do whatever we want to do, we choose. It's a matter of, are you ready to do the work? It's worth it, and you are worth it, yeah. But you hadn't painted that picture in your head yet.
No, I was so scared.
Yeah, absolutely, I hear that.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, a lot of people go, yeah, I want that, but I don't think I can do that. Deep
Yeah.
inside, I'm not worthy, that's not who you haven't seen what I've done, I've never been there before. What if I can't measure up?
That's exactly it, yeah. Yeah.
So-
When I got to the rehab, because I did stay there for 6 hours, and I'd never been around clean people before.
Yeah.
I'd never been around normal people, I've never had encouragement, never had that kind of support. And when I got to rehab, I was alienated. I felt alienated. I felt I don't belong here.
Yeah.
I can't do this. These people don't understand.
Yeah.
The caseworkers at the rehab don't understand. They've probably never even been on drugs. They'll never understand. And as I said, I always had it in the back of my head that I was always going to be that person.
Yeah.
So, living a fulfilled life was never in the person that I ever thought I could be. So, and being 18, you're very headstrong.
Yeah.
Or you think you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no one could tell me right or wrong.
Well, at 18, you know everything, don't
That's
you?
right.
I
That's
mean,
exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And even many times in addiction, in ice addiction anyway, generally, the addict says, "There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine," and thinks you got it together. You think you got it together but you really don't. So, it's not till your loved ones can say, that this is not who you are, and this is not okay. This lifestyle's destroying your family, destroying you. And speaking truth in love and doing an intervention for, to show you a better way. So tell me what happened then. So he came out and disappeared.
Pretty much, yeah.
My goodness, Kim, how did you cope with that?
Well, luckily I was living at my parents', I think, at that time. They were really supportive, so I just kind of went on with things. And I think you got caught, it's such a long time ago, but you got caught again, didn't you, not long after?
That was 6 months after.
Yeah.
I want to go
Yeah.
deeper,
Yeah,
okay?
that's okay.
If that's all right with you. Here's this man that you loved, and he's made you a promise that things were going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. He just disappeared. I want to know what was going through here and how you dealt with that.
Yeah, God, so long ago. I just remember thinking he was cheating on me actually a lot. And because he would sometimes just rock up at my house and like sort of like he wasn't meant to be there, because my parents would come in and say, "What are you doing, Chris?" Because they were really disappointed in what he did.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me because I wanted him there, but
Yeah.
I also didn't want him there because I was really mad at him for what
Yeah.
he did. And I'd just be so stressed out all the time because I was working and he was not there, and he'd like ring me up and ask for money and things like that and stress me out, and I honestly don't know how I got through it, but I just kind of tried to just be strong and just keep going and just kind of endure through that time. It sounds stupid, but I was kind of hoping that he would get caught so then he could see what he was actually doing. And
It doesn't sound stupid at all.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
yeah,
parents, and particularly parents, going, I hope he ends up in jail, because at least he's not going to be out there on the street.
yeah,
And maybe he
Yeah.
can get a shock, and maybe he can, realise some clean time, that he can realise what
Yeah.
he's losing, and
yeah,
that he's destroying his life, and
Yeah.
all of that. So it doesn't sound stupid,
Yeah.
because you love him. You love him.
yeah,
So you don't want to see him, destroying. And he was, in a sense, having an affair with the drug.
yeah,
It becomes your wife, it becomes your life, your heir, it becomes everything.
yeah,
So in a sense, you felt like you were losing a battle
yeah,
to someone else, and
Yeah.
it's the drug, because you were losing the man that you love.
yeah. Yeah.
What happened after that?
I think I feel like it's a bit of a blur, because I know he got caught again and he went back to jail, and in the midst of that I got pregnant, and I can't remember
You got
when that
so I was
was.
released to Fairhaven. So I got, I had stole a gold chain from a jewellery store and got into a high-speed chase.
Yeah.
And we had a head-on smash. And I
Yeah,
got,
and I saw it on the news that night actually.
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
At home
Yeah.
after work actually.
So he hadn't told you?
No, and my friend actually, my co-worker was, somehow my co-worker from because I used to work at SeaWorld, was actually behind him in the car, that he saw him overtake her in the car that he was driving, and told me about the whole thing, and I was like, oh my gosh.
My goodness.
So yeah, that was a bit shocking.
I bet.
And, yeah. And I actually was really worried, because I heard that the person they drove into was really hurt, and I thought, oh my god, he must have been driving, because he was always the driver,
Yeah.
and it just happened to be that one time that he actually wasn't driving, someone else was. But
Oh, bless him.
yeah,
yeah.
so he didn't have to go away for a long time, but yeah, then he got released to, was it Fairhaven?
Yeah.
And
Awesome rehab, by the way.
Yeah,
In case
it
you-
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%.
and as soon as he got his first what do you call it, weekend
Weekend leave, day leave.
day leaves,
Yep.
we were together every moment. Like, I really tried to support him, and I had actually a couple of friends that used to come, because it was like a churchy sort of one, and they did what was that night, once a week meetup thing, like a little mini church they had there, and Nick used to come. It's just like, it was like a support sort of
Like a
group,
group,
where
yeah.
like a
Yeah.
group meetup, and one of my friends used to come and support him, and I think that meant a lot to him.
Yep.
And yeah, we used to go there like every week, and eventually I got pregnant, which it wasn't supposed to happen apparently, according to the rehab, but yeah, and we were like, oh no, that happened before you went to rehab. But anyway, so yeah, and then he did so well, like he finished the program and he got out, and
No, I relapsed. at
oh, is
end
that the
of my
one you
life.
relapsed?
Yeah.
See, I'm blurring everything up,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's been in and out, in and
Yeah.
out, in and out, and then we've had babies, and it's
Yeah.
just so confusing. Because I
Yeah.
remember the rehab gave us a pram,
That's right.
because I was pregnant, but yeah, see.
Yeah.
I remember he got very close to the, that's right, that's the
It's
one
just
where
about
he
to
got very
graduate.
close to the end, he was about to graduate, and then it went bad.
It's funny how
yeah.
I'm just seeing a pattern here, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you're at home, if you're seeing that, the sabotage,
Yeah,
right to that, split in the road, that last minute thing, and like something happens in you. Yeah.
It was always a fear of reality. I was just about to graduate and step out into the world a clean person,
yeah.
and
It was
have
a
to
shock.
start living that life.
You were afraid that you couldn't,
Yeah,
you weren't going to measure up.
I wasn't going to measure up. I
Mm.
couldn't do it. Again, I was that person.
Yep.
I was about to graduate and be out in the community and have to live that normal life.
Just a question, right now, today,
Yeah.
you realise that that's a lie.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're just like an awesomeness.
Yeah.
You come in and work in the office, and I'm like, I don't believe that's the same person writing
Yeah.
stories. And a lot of times when you're in addiction, you only see what you've experienced in the past,
Yeah.
and you don't know what's available to you until you step out. And it is uncomfortable, and it is scary. Yeah, that's why we have our peer support program. We have a buddy system. And if I'm talking to you tonight and you are, looking at getting clean and changing your life. I just want to say that it's possible. We're both living testimonies of that, and that we have, people like us there to stand with you and to walk with you, because it is scary. It is scary, but you know what? It's worth it, and you are worth it. And you can have the life you love, and a life worth living. Yeah. Sometimes you just need that person next to you, like he did have. Although Kim hadn't been where he had been with his past, if he had had somebody that had had a similar past and mirrored that and said, mate, yeah, I hear you, scared mate, calling you out on what was really going on, but encouraging you to jump, just jump, watch, you're not going to fall. So we're here for you. If that is you, if somebody sent you this link to watch this show, and you're in contemplation stage and you're saying, maybe I could change my life. Let me tell you that every person that's working in AAIC, and we have 128 volunteers Australia-wide, every person that's come out of recovery says, I didn't think I could have the life I have now. I didn't think I could be the person I am today. I thought I was going to be a druggie for the rest of my life. I thought I was trapped in there. I thought that was me. I was done. And they've turned their life around. So can you. Yeah, it's a matter of just knowing where to step and walking together. Yeah, in unity. So well done for what you've done. Yeah, and I want to hear a little bit about. So you've had a few relapses back and forth. Did you ever at any point go, I've had enough. I don't want to do this anymore, and this is not going to happen?
Yeah, I had those thoughts, definitely, many times, especially when it was really bad.
What does really bad look like, Kim? I want you to paint that, because some people that may be watching it, maybe, some high school kids watching the show tonight, they don't, really bad doesn't mean anything. What do you mean?
Well, the most recent relapse was probably the worst.
It always is. Every relapse, it escalates.
Yeah. And it's probably just because it's more fresh in my mind. But a lot of horrible things happen each time that I remember certain key things. But just like you were saying about the psychosis side of it, how can I explain it? Just him not be he's not there, but he thinks he's there. He thinks he would just disappear, leave us in a house in a semi-rural area. That was our last house we were living in. Take the only car available and be gone for weeks on end. And I'd ring him up and he'd say, I'm out supporting you guys. I'm trying to get money for you guys. I'm trying to support you. And you just can't argue with it. I tried to explain to him, I'd be writing down all the bank stuff, all the budget, and going, but you spent this much and you haven't got, because you always used to say, I'm making it back. I took all the money, but I'm making it back.
Yeah.
So,
and of course he was hitting up.
Yeah, it was just still going up his arm,
yeah.
and I knew that, and I'd try and ring him up, and that was probably, financial stress was really bad, I guess a bad part of it.
Yeah.
And then me having to ring him up and say, Chris, where's all the money gone? And then he'd just start screaming at me because he wanted to deflect the situation onto something else. So he'd just scream at me and say, it's your fault, blah, 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 And then I'd just be like, okay, whatever, all right. And let him cool down. And then he'd ring back and say, I'm going to make it back. And it was dribs and drabs, and just the stress of that, having to walk a very long way just to get milk and bread because he's just not there.
Yeah.
And then he would just rock up randomly, oh hi, and act with mates that are also on the drugs and pretend everything's normal. What's for dinner? And I'd just be like, are you joking? You haven't been here for weeks. The kids would be like, Daddy, showing them all their stuff because they don't really understand. Showing them stuff they made or stuff that week, actually trying to get his attention, and he'd just go in the room and with his mates, and then he'd say things like, oh, this guy's staying here tonight, and I'd be like, no, he's not. I don't want some stranger in my house with my kids. And then it'd be another argument, and then the argument would, because he's on the drugs, the argument would escalate to a point where I would just have to accept it, and just I couldn't, because he would be up in my face, you
Yeah.
know, screaming at me.
Yeah.
And like, I would just go, okay, whatever, you know, just
Yeah.
do what you want. And, you know, that I guess that would be a sort of, you know, really bad sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it is really bad. And the
yeah.
serotonin in the brain, the chemical serotonin, gets depleted when ice has been used, and that, you know, anger, violence, you know, that kind of attitude. A lot of domestic violence happens,
Yeah.
you know, when you're on this drug, because outrage, you know, it does, that chemical controls that, and you can't, you know, it doesn't allow you to be normal. You know, so it is a very difficult place for people that, you know, for family members to be living with somebody through addiction, through ice addiction particularly, because of that chemical being depleted out of the brain. Of course, the person using doesn't realise that that is going on, you know, because your perception is damaged. Yeah, your logic, rational, you know, perception is processing centre is gone. So you can't actually see until you can, if you stay clean for enough, and then it's so horrible to see who you've been that you just want to hit up again, because you just don't want to face that or work through it or have the capacity to process properly to get out of that. So it's an entrapment in itself. But how did you work through that time? How did you manage to, you know, get food in the house and
Well,
kids?
I'm very lucky that I had my father that wasn't too far away. If I didn't have him, I probably would have been on the street. And actually, that's another thing that like really worried me, because like people used to ring me up, friends and family, and just go, just leave him, just take the money, lock his account. They'd give me all these advice, and I tried to open up an account behind his back and transfer all the money, so the money went in there so I could actually get food and stuff. And it's, in theory, it sounds great, like, oh, that's so easy, you can just do that.
Yeah.
And then I think I did it 1 week. I had a bit of money to survive, and he caught wind of it and was just so abusive and aggressive about it, and
Yeah.
scared the living daylight out of me. And being that I'm, you know, being the weaker vessel, so to say it, you know, I can't stand up to some crazy, strong ice addict,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and unless I had like a bodyguard living at my house or something, you know, like all these family members just saying, you know, just lock the door and don't let him in the house. I'm like, he'll just go through the window,
That's
you
right,
know, or
that's
just
right.
take his keys to his car and flush him down the toilet. I'm like, then what happens
Yeah,
to me? You
that's
know,
right.
grab his gear and throw it down the toilet. All this constantly, people just, it's so simple. You
Yeah.
just have to do ABC, and they just don't get it. Like, you know, I think at one point I had 7 puppies to look after, like 4 kids, 1 on the way. I live on a rural property, you know, I can't just walk down the street to the local community centre and say, can I stay here the night? You know,
Yeah.
it's just so unrealistic. So
Yeah.
it felt pretty, you know, helpless at times, but luckily I had a lot of family support. I know some people don't, so
Yeah.
you know, that would
Yeah.
really be really hard.
Yeah.
But it did get to a point where my parents were like, I've had enough of this, you know, because financial thing is very hard, because he would take the money and then I would have to get money off my dad.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I just felt as like I wanted to leave sometimes, but I just felt like I needed to be there to show him that you know, that this is the life that we're meant to have, because it was not him, it was the drug. So, and he would come home sometimes and he would start the recovery process and say, I'm done, I've had enough. And he'd start sleeping, and I'd be like, yay, it's over. And he'd eat and everything, and I'd help him recover. And after about a week of him starting to recover, he would just disappear. One morning he'd just be gone. And then the cycle just kept continuing and continuing. And then the crime started happening again and everything. And I think it just got to the point where he knew that he was going to eventually get caught, and he started saying things like, oh my God, what have I done? I've done this all again.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to say how I got through it, because it's definitely not easy. It was really, really tough at times. But, you know, I had like I said, my family were really supportive because they said, you know, if you want to leave him, we'll be here. You can come stay with us. If you want to stay, we're still going to be here, which was really good because a lot of parents are like, nah, we don't want nothing to do with him and everything like that. So they used to say to Chris, you know, if you need somewhere to stay, you know, you can come and stay, you know.
Unconditional love, that sounds
Yeah.
like to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you were giving as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you believed in him. You know, you believed in him.
Somewhere
and you
in
saw
there.
something.
Yeah.
Deep inside,
Yeah.
you saw something in him that said, no, this is not who you are.
Yeah.
And I'm going to unconditionally love you through that pain. You know, and that, because you could see an outcome. You could see what he couldn't see.
Yeah.
You know, which was the man he is today. You know, and a father and you know, a loving husband. So I just can't even begin to imagine what that was like.
Yeah.
For you. You know, with my partner, we were both using, and when I had to get clean, we kept relapsing. I couldn't stay. You know, it was so I can't begin to imagine what you're going through, but you were going through then.
I think by being the one that didn't ever touch it, because he used to bring friends over that, like all his friends that he brought over were users.
Yep.
So like they thought I was out of place. They even used to say, I didn't think your wife would look like this or be like a straightie or whatever they want to say, you know.
Yeah.
And they'd be quite surprised by me. And I think maybe part of him eventually getting better was me just, because they used to sit me down and say things like, you know, Kim, this stuff is really good, you know, it'll improve your sex life, it'll like, and try and push it on me. I'm like, come on, like I'm not doing, and they wouldn't stop. Like one particular girl just would not stop trying to push me into it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I've been there before and I hated it. You know, I already told you that.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just trying to suck me into that world. And I think if that had happened, I think we both would have lost our kids and been both in jail and everything. But I think by him seeing me not, you know, choosing not to do it, it probably helped him a lot. So I couldn't imagine how hard it would be for people the way they're both on it.
Yeah.
But I also really feel for the people that, like, I don't know how many people are in my situation where their husbands or their wives are on it and they're trying to hold everything together.
Yeah.
So
I want to know what was going through your mind and what was two questions here. It's a split question. What was that kept you strong?
Yeah.
Through that time mostly, and what didn't work? Okay.
Well, what kept me strong, I guess being pregnant again, because I felt that protection. I had to protect the baby, so and being strong for the kids. So like I had some of our kids are pretty young, like 3-year-old and 4-year-old, and I didn't want them to lose their dad, and I didn't want to just run off and so-called start a new life or whatever. I wanted to, you know, and I had hope that he would come back to me because he had before. It's really hard to say what kept me going. I don't know, I just pushed through every day with like a glimmer of hope. Every time I saw Chris do something good, like when I was pregnant, I had cravings and stuff, he would try to come back because he was wanted. So, and our neighbour used to call the police every time he rocked up because she got wind that he was wanted. So he could only stay for like limited time. It got that bad.
Yeah.
But he would go out of his way to bring me like yogurt and things like that I wanted, and those little glimmers of hope, and you know I just thought, you know, hopefully this all comes to an end soon. And as I said earlier, hopefully he gets caught, and then because when you're in jail you can't take any. Well, it's pretty hard to have drugs, so you know, natural detoxing and. It just happened so weirdly, like the way that it happened. But it was the perfect time because it was right when I had a baby, and I remember that he'd just gotten locked up, and the Salvation Army lady printed out a photo that I sent her of the baby and took it down to him. And then he had a phone call the next day, his one phone call, and he rang me. I said, I'm so sorry, it's all over, Kim. And actually, that I felt like so much relief, like that all the waiting and all the endurance had finally paid off because he's finally been caught. And I know that sounds horrible, but he'd finally been caught and it was all over. And then he actually started to change from that moment onwards. And I don't know how I endured it, but yeah, I just was so happy that it was finished.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So how many relapses? How many times did you do this? Back and forth before we have.
I think it was a few
Few.
times. So I'd been there
3,
before, I
4,
guess.
5.
It was probably from the moment we got together in that first time, probably about 4 times, was it?
There's about 4 little ones and maybe
Yeah.
2 to 3 very big relapses.
And that's in a period of.
15 years.
I've got to ask this. I'm itching to ask this, so I've got to ask it now. I was going to wait till the end of the show, but we've still got 5 minutes. What's different now, Chris?
What's different now is
Why should she believe you?
because I'm not that person.
What changed?
What changed is the 8 years that I was clean, the self-worth that I felt during that 8 years.
Yep.
I achieved so much in that 8 years. After coming from being an addict for so long and having that 8 years clean, that was a big wake-up call for me to show me that I wasn't that person.
And that you could be somebody else? You
Yeah.
could be who you were really made to be?
Yeah, yeah,
Not the lie that had been
yeah,
thrown at you?
yeah. You know, I got a job, I was working with the church, I was helping other addicts, and as I said, the self-worth was great. Coming home with a pay packet every week and knowing that that was because of me, that my kids were eating and we'd be going out on the weekend and having fun, my kids were laughing, just seeing their smiles, and also proving to Kim that she was right in waiting for me. That was big for me because, as Kim said, she always had hope that I would change and become the person that she could see the little glimpses of.
Yeah.
And having 8 years of that, as I said, I was on the biggest high.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. And you want that.
Yeah.
What have you done different to secure that?
This time.
Yeah.
For the 8 years I got a bit complacent. I never thought that I would turn back to this life. And I started to stop seeking support.
Yep.
And thought that life was over. And one main thing was I had the accident at work.
Yeah.
And
And also associating with all people, starting
Yeah.
thinking it was okay, well sorry to butt in, but thinking it's okay to start hanging around all these people that I knew had a history with drugs. And
Yeah.
he would used to say to me, oh no, they're okay now, but I knew they weren't.
Yeah.
I knew that stuff was still going on.
Yeah.
And very slowly they would encourage him to start doing it again. And that's actually the root cause of nearly every single relapse that he had, was, I
Yeah.
guess, a lack
People
of,
around.
what do you call it? Like a lack of, one of his first relapses, I actually remember he was going really well. We had our own place. This one we only had one kid. He was working at this place on the Gold Coast, and he was really happy because it was his first full-time job, which he never thought he could ever get, because someone that goes to jail and gets out, it's really hard to get a job. And he was doing so well, and then one day he just said to me on the way to work, I'm going to get on drugs for my birthday and take the day off. And I went, oh, I was shocked. And I think it was because he'd run into an old mate,
Yeah.
and the old mate said, let's have a cool party this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you thinking, Chris? I thought we were going to live a normal life. Why are you even talking to that person?
Yeah.
And the mindset just wasn't there.
Yeah.
He was just like, what are you talking? And then we'd argue,
Yeah.
and we argued about it all the way up until the moment that he went and hung out with these people to have this party. And I said, I don't want anything to do with it. Just go do it, whatever. Because I couldn't stop him.
You can't stop him.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because we talk about in recovery putting a framework of support around you. You're never fully recovered. You always have to have a framework of support. If you start dropping off from meetings, from your counsellor, from your buddy, and having a support network around you, you will relapse. 8 years, 15 years, we've seen that. So it is important to maintain your recovery program at some level, always, and be aware that at any time your life could be taken. It could be taken down that direction, and just be aware of people, places, and things. Yeah, who you're hanging out with. You become a product of your environment. You really do. So, just being on that framework of support always, and being awake. Don't drop the ball. Don't think that it won't happen to me. I've got it under control. I'll be all right. I'll hang out with everyone else doing it, but I'm not going to go there again because I've had it. Eventually, you will. That's just the way that it works, and we've seen it over the years again and again. So it's important that you maintain that. But we can promise ourselves, it's not going to happen. But my question to you is, what have you done to secure that doesn't happen? I mean, this is a family. You got kids, you got a family, you got a brilliant opportunity for life. How does Kim know? How can she be rest assured in her heart that you're not going to go there again?
As I said before, I've become complacent, and I always used to think, no, recovery is not for life. I'm recovered.
Yeah.
And as I said, I stopped seeking support. I distanced myself from that because I thought that was my old life. And when I had the accident, I had nothing in place, nothing at all in place to support me through after having the accident at work. And I started getting depressed. I didn't seek help.
Yeah.
And now I know that I was very stupid, and I now know that recovery is for life, and I can't stop seeking recovery and trying to better myself further and further and further. And every time that I fall off, I've got to realise I've just got to get back up. I can't look down and say, oh, it's done, it's all over.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And also God. I've always believed in God, and I used to use him as a spare tire, I guess. And now I just always thank God for where I am, and I thank Kim's faith is also, I guess, why we're sitting here today as well.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Because you can't fail with God in the middle, in the mix. You
Yeah.
can't fail. And I just love everything about you, Chris. You've been in the office, you've been working with us. We're just like, man, what an awesome guy. And I hear the story. I hear the story, and I hear the damage, and I hear, the past. And that is, you've got to go, okay, that's what happened. That's the past. That's not who I am. And I'm making a change, and here's the line. And, keep moving forward, keep walking forward. I know that there's some people watching tonight, particularly that who have been helping their daughter, and she's been clean for 6 months. She had a few relapses in between, and she's now clean for 6 months, and the family was, so happy, and she's changed, her face has changed, and, the appearance, everything. All of a sudden, she's had a relapse, yeah? And the family's gone, that's it, we're done, we can't do this anymore. What would you say to that?
Well, giving up on someone like that is really affect that person dramatically. So, even though you might feel as though you're done, maybe it would be best to just because I used to say I'm done, but I'd say it I'd say it to myself, but then I would try and be strong for him, but it's so hard because it just keeps happening. But yeah, and I didn't mention before my faith, so I have like strong views on marriage and things like that. So I really just thought if I stick it out, maybe God will pull everything through. But I mean, not everyone's religious, so it can be really hard to stick with that sort of thing.
I don't know if that's religious, Kim, or if that is spiritual, but you know, the faith in something greater. You know, 12-step program talks about, you know, faith in something greater. You don't have to have doctrine attached to that.
Yeah.
But you know, knowing that there's a creator, and that you know, if your heart's right, and you know, you're doing things from a place of love, he usually meets you to help. That, you know. That's more of a faith thing and a spiritual connection with our Creator, and that's awesome that you could draw on that, you know, and draw on God and say, I need your help, you know, to work through this.
Yeah, that's a hard question because I understand why they would say I'm done, but you know, maybe there's just a different way that you know, that they could work out, you know, how to make it work a different way. Like with Chris, I think definitely him, and also maturity. Like he was so young when he first relapsed so many times, and as he got older, he got more better at realizing that, you know, like I said, the old people in places, like, you know, someone can relapse so easily by just running into someone. Like just the other day, Chris ran into a friend that was from that world, and he said to him, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just going to get some shopping." And he said, "Well, how about you come get on the gear instead?" And he's like, no thanks, you know, like, but like it can just happen so quickly. And like, and you know, it might feel like all hope is lost, but if you give up on them, then they'll probably just give up on themselves. So I don't know how to say it, but yeah, like if they can try and endure for that person and maybe just try a different way to approach it, you know, like I remember I used to give in and give Chris money and things like that, and like I said, that was a bit hard being the wife because he would just be like, "I'm taking your cards" and all that, but I guess it might be a little bit different when you're a parent or something like that. It would be a little bit easier to say no and support them in other ways, but it's just such a horrible drug that it's just so hard. They'll maybe try and see that it's not them, it's the drug, and it was probably something so small that could have caused it, and I'm sure they were really regretful. And I'm sure that you know, like some people need maybe 5 relapses before they realise, and some people need like 10. You know, some people can figure it out in one, but I don't know, maybe just give them another chance. I guess that's what I would say, even though it's so difficult to do.
Were there any tools that you used along the way to help? Like, can we talk about like boundaries and
that's hard for me. I suck at that but I know that I should have been way stronger, but like that's what I was saying before, you know, when you've got someone screaming in your face, you know, just give me your card and you know, or I'll do this or that, it's just so hard. But I guess me not being involved was one of my, like, a boundary for me, I guess. Me saying, you know, if you want to go do it, that's fine, but I'm not doing anything, you know, I don't want anything to do with it. And we would find other avenues to get money or food or whatever, and it would really actually affect him because I wasn't like siding with him, or I was disagreeing and saying, no, I don't agree with that, I think you're wrong, but that's what you want to do, then like making stupid decisions and things like that, I would just say, no, I don't agree with that. But
so you were showing him that the effect
that's not how normal people do this.
Good.
And
that's what it was costing him, and you know, what the impact of his actions were. You know, that by him living that life, you go, you know, your kids aren't having food. Like you know, put it in front of him. That might have helped for him to see, you know. Did that help?
If I didn't have Kim being so strong and constantly reminding me that I'm loved and I'm not that person and I'm special, and that I can do this, I'd still be on the drugs today.
Wow.
That's why I think giving up on someone on ice is just creating more problems.
Yeah.
As you know, set boundaries where you can.
Yeah.
Um,
To safeguard
if
yourself.
you know, from my experiences and what Kim went through, I can say, you know, call the police. At some point, if you just keep showing your love to this person, as Kim showed me, at the end of every day I went, oh my God, this girl loves me. This girl loves me, and I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this, and she loves me. And each time Kim showed me that love, I felt as though I needed to get better. I felt as though I needed to get off the drugs. I was that person, you know. Yeah, I could only be told so much until I realised, okay, I'm loved. I can do this. Someone believes in me. So to give up on someone, I think it's a bit of an encouragement for that person to say, okay, well, this is who I am.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
rubbish anyway. I'm not loved. I'm
Yeah,
unworthy.
yeah.
And I'm just going to, you know, do myself in. Really, it
Yeah.
really is a form of suicide.
Yeah.
You know, to be go deeper.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that. You know, that's deep. You know, and it's difficult. Get that. And that's why we have our family support. Yeah, we have people like Kim who's been through it. Kim has just signed up to be a volunteer with us, and you know, other family members that have been through this cycle that have been trained to give support for the families going through this. You know, it is important that you know, the families realise what the addict needs, yeah, in terms of help, and don't think that, oh no, they're in recovery now, they're fine. They're not. They need a framework of support. We need to encourage that person to know you need to connect with the counsellor, with NA. You need to do your meetings regularly, yeah, and you need a sponsor. You need a buddy. You need somebody that, you know, can be there that you can chat with when it gets tough, because it will get tough, and you will have obstacles to overcome, and you will need somebody that's walked it, that understands it, that you can, you know, say, you know, I don't know if I can do this, you know, and they just kick your butt back into place and say, yes, you can, I did it, you get out, you know, stop it, you know, and give you a bit of a slapping around the head. But on a serious note, that is so important, you know, and the family member I was talking about, you know, couldn't foresee that, or, you know, kind of tried, but the person that was clean said, I'm all right now, and they didn't really put that framework in place, hence she relapsed. We see that too much.
Yeah.
So we do encourage you guys, if you are a family member and you need support, we do have trained family support people and counsellors online, on standby, waiting to help and to walk with you, yeah, and to give you tools and to love on you when it gets tough, yeah. So you can keep standing and loving on, you know, on your family member or the person that you love that's entrapped in that world. So the number to call if you are seeking help is 1800 no to ICE, or the mobile 0481 844 555, and Brad will put that up on the screen. We also have private messaging right now. The counsellors are online. You can private message and somebody will be there to assist you. You know, if we don't answer your call straight away, please, you know, bear with us. We do get very busy at certain times, but we will get to you. Yeah, and you're not alone through this. Yeah, we're here for you. And we do want to help you genuinely walk through this and stay strong. And, you know, I think it's important too, if you've been sent this video and maybe you're in the cycle of addiction and you're hearing here not only the story of, you know, somebody that was using like you maybe, but also the impact that's having on your loved ones, on your family member. This is real, you know, and, you know, the impact on the kids and on Kim here was, you know, horrendous. Like, you know, she had to, you know, walk through that somehow, but she never gave up hope. And it's hard to stay in that place with the amount of support that you had, I would imagine, from your family that kept you, you know, strong And you're going to receive a lot of advice from the outside, but at the end of the day, unless you've walked through that, you don't really know the situation. You have to draw strength from somewhere else. And if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here either. So I want you to consider that. And if you're in addiction and you're thinking about making a change, we want to help you. We've done that. Chris has done that. We want to walk with you. That's what we live for, to help the next person make that change. I almost feel like I could break out into a song. The man in the mirror. Break that, make that change, because it's worth it. Tell me about, just quickly before we go, your life. You got your life back.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So as I said, I'm not going to stop seeking the support.
Yeah.
I've been 2 years clean now, and I still see the psychologist once a week.
Yeah.
I'm just constantly seeking more and more where I can better myself.
Yeah.
I wake up every morning. The reason why I wake up every morning is so I can be a better father and a better person and a better husband.
That's awesome.
And I want to be that person.
Yeah.
And as I said, Kim gave me something to weigh up. At the end of my addiction, it was keep going or live a life where I'm loved and respected and wanted.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you chose the better path.
I did.
Well done.
Yeah.
And Kim, good on you, man. I just honour you and just respect you so much, man. I just can't begin to understand how you went through that, but I know that with God everything's possible. Yeah, and with love. Yep. And I just honour and respect that. Well done. And it must be such a relief for you to have your husband back and your family together.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you speaking out. Do you have any last minute things that you want to say to the family at home?
Just, I guess, everything that's happened, I would just encourage people to not try, if they can, not give up unless it's, a dead-end situation where they absolutely have to get out. But there's always hope, and Chris is an example of that. And I'm actually really proud of him too, that he's come so far, because, and there's going to be people that are going to tell you that person is never going to change, ever. Mm-hmm. And you just have to block that out,
Yep.
And try and just remember who they were before they started the drug, and just try and be positive the best you can for them, and try and be as straight and normal as you can, show them normal, or take them out and show them what normal is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you certainly have shown him love.
Yeah.
And if that's all we can take from this world, unconditional love.
Yeah.
That is everything.
Yeah.
So well done.
Thanks.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the show. Thanks for joining us tonight. Unconditional love is the message tonight, yeah? And we're here to help you, unconditionally, yeah? So reach out if you need help. Thanks, guys, for being on the show. Good night. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next week.